I'm Dr. Gaby Cora at the National Publicity Summit with Kenneth King. Ken, welcome.
Thanks, Gaby.
Some very interesting story to share with us. Tell us about it.
Yes, Germs Gone Wild is about a huge and unacknowledged proliferation of high-risk germ labs in the U.S. since 2001. Over 1,200 new high-risk germ labs have been built in the country, one for every 8 Starbucks.
Wow.
The Government Accountability Office said in 2007, in a really scary report, that no one in the government was even keeping track of all the labs, much less regulating them.
Should we be worried about this?
Oh, absolutely. Something that's made it into the news a bit recently is scientists, government-funded researchers have been developing forms of the bird flu that you and I could spread just by sneezing. Ordinary bird flu, you can only catch it if you live next to infected chickens, but it kills 60% of the people who get it. And they've been doing so in less than the maximum level of containment, so theoretically this research could be conducted in any of over 1,400 labs, and it could take only one infected researcher to start the worst pandemic in human history.
Now, I've also heard that there's been some issues about the publication of results.
Yes, the National Institutes of Health, which has been funding the research, pretended that it was surprised to discover that researchers were doing this in 2012, and so it convened an advisory board which raised what I think is somewhat of a false issue of whether bioterrorism might be a danger. The real risk is that an infected researcher will catch the disease and take it out and transmit it to just one other person in the community, and we have a worldwide pandemic. And there have been several instances over the past several years of infected researchers unintentionally infected by the bioweapons agents they were studying, and then walking around for weeks before they were correctly diagnosed.
Are there real risks about having a bioterrorism attack?
Well, there is always possibly some risk, but when you consider we have 100,000 people a year dying of hospital infections, I think those risks are exaggerated.
And it also looks like, to your point, it looks like the immediate risk would be of those researchers who may think that they're containing the infection, and in fact, we don't know what we're up against.
They don't know what they're up against. They're creating new things. And apparently these researchers who got infected with other agents didn't think they could get infected, because otherwise they would have stopped to consider that disease as a possible diagnosis for themselves much earlier.
The other interesting thing is many scientists can get a little bit complacent about taking great care of themselves, particularly if they feel that they know what virus they're talking about or how to handle everything.
Absolutely. The most serious example of that recently was a University of Chicago researcher who died from what was supposed to be a weakened version of the plague, but he had some sort of special immune problem that made him very susceptible to it.
Interesting. So how can people get a hold of your book?
They can get it at any bookstore, Amazon, or go to my website, germsgonewild.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Is there any way that people can get a hold of you directly?
Yes, they can go to the website, germsgonewild.com, and find contact information there.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks.